Every time you hear the word love, I want you to hold up your sign. I want you to give it to somebody else too, your extra one, and I want you to make them hold up their sign, okay? Make mom do it, make dad do it, make grandma do it, whoever there is, all right? You guys got it? This is your instructions. This is your job that you're gonna do, okay? All right, ready? Break. All right, let's go.
Stop me if I've told you this story before. I'm just kidding, don't stop me. I've probably told you this story before. So the Christian mystics were a group in the mid to late 1800s, and they accused all of the history of Christianity of ignoring what Jesus taught, and instead building an institution of rules and intake forms and punishment for apostates and place for power and blessings of the status quo. And well, they weren't wrong about any of that. Leo Tolstoy, the writer, War and Peace, he was the most famous adherent of this philosophy, Christian mysticism. He wrote a book explaining the Christian mystic philosophy. It was called The Kingdom of Heaven is Inside You. And what he meant was God's kingdom can come about through the spirit of love and justice and mercy and humility that is in all people. In you, second person plural, same tense as it is in the Bible. You equals all of you, not just one of you or some of you, but you all, y'all, as my sister moved back here from Mississippi saying. The potential, the possibility for God's kingdom to be here is in y'all. That's a crash course on Christian mystic philosophy. You can tell everybody that you learned something today. Here's what I believe. When I come here to worship and to work, essentially, right down deep at the core of it, for me, this is what Christian belief is about. People in relationship with each other, in community or connection or congregation or whatever we want to name it, have power within them to change the world, a power that is unleashed by love. Love of God, we call it. But even when we can't understand that, we can understand how powerful love is. How powerful it can be when we truly love an ideal or a goal or a thing or a person and act out of that love. How far we can go, how much we can do, how many we can save, how deeply we can change and help and restore and revive. When we love, it's powerful. It makes us powerful. It rises up and moves us. It makes us dream and dare and do. So to recap, I believe that what we're doing here, what this is about at its most basic level, is that people in relationship with each other have the love power given and taught by God, made present with us in Jesus, to change the world. Full disclosure, I myself might be a Christian mystic. Okay. And that power, that potential power, is always there. So what we're trying to do, in my opinion, is to find ways to unleash it, to channel it, to unlock it within ourselves and between ourselves, to put together combinations of people that show and teach and tell and sing ourselves into better, more powerful places where we can share the love that is within us and use the gifts that we've been given and make a difference in people's lives, both others and our own. And that's so awesome. That's why I'm here. And I hope it resonates enough to remind you of why you are here too. We have within us the power of love. And we are here to help each other unlock it and maximize it, use it. It's a way to think about it. But there's something else that we have to recognize too. It's that people gathered in groups or even just by themselves deciding what to listen to and what to believe have a lot of possible inherent powers. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it says, "To everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven." And then it goes on to say things that we can all get behind. There's a time to be born, and a time to die. That's literally true. A time to weep and a time to laugh, yes. A time to keep and a time to throw away, please, yes. A time to keep silence. Some of us need to learn that. And a time to speak. Absolutely. But it also says there's a time for war and a time for peace. And while that may be practically, cynically true, I can't get behind those two things being equivalent or both thought of as inevitable. I can't condone working for, hoping for, pushing for anything but peace. Yes, it's my job, but also it's what I believe about God, what God is hoping for from us, the gathered believers, the community. I hope you believe that too. And it says in Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season, a time for love. Surprised you. And it says a time for hate. And there's where we're off the rails, author of Ecclesiastes, into a nihilism that I'm quite sure that Jesus wouldn't get behind, that I'm quite sure God isn't calling us to, because there is no time to hate. There is no time, I believe, for hate. But the truth that even I have to admit, and you do too, is that we have the power to hate. We have the power to do it. We have the power. Deep inside of us, all of us, individually and collectively, we have the power to hate. And we have a lot of other terrible powers too, related ones. Powers to ignore, to ostracize, to break down, to drive to despair, powers to intimidate and to cow and to shout down. We have terrible powers, potential powers within us too. And in case you're feeling like disagreeing with that, here's a test. You can feel those powers, we can feel those powers rising up in us every time we see a picture that makes us uncomfortable, or hear a voice that we disagree with, or are quite certain that those people, the ones that are trying to destroy everything we hold dear and take it away from us, are 100% wrong and bad and evil, even. That feeling that we feel, that's the very beginning, the first faint stirrings of the hate power rising up in you, rising up in us. And the terrible thing about being human is this. We're not always wrong when those feelings stir up in us. It's not always bad. Biologically, it keeps us alive. Sometimes people do have bad intentions. Sometimes some ideologies are inherently wrong, evil even. They're based on eliminationist violence against others, the utter destruction of peoples, of communities. Sometimes the first faint stirrings of the hate power are unavoidable, are completely understandable. There is no time for hate, no time to hate. But just saying that kind of requires me to hate or something. And here that feeling comes stirring up again. The problem is that while those feelings can sometimes be natural, they can only ultimately lead to more destruction. That's what I believe. That's what we believe. I almost hate to say it because we also feel strongly sometimes that battles or even just battles or need to be fought, that wars or even just wars need to be won. But in the end, ultimately, hate fails. Hate always fails to achieve the great things that it seductively whispers that it can. It fails to turn back the clock. It fails to eradicate the opposition. It fails to purge the human heart. Our way, the only way, the way God has given us to believe, is love. To be the people who love. To be the people who say to the world, no, 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 love. to be the people who say to ourselves, no, no, no. Love. Again and again and again, we have to remind the world and others and ourselves of this. Love doesn't always show immediate results, is one of the problems. Love doesn't always fix things right away. Love doesn't always satisfy our desire to just make it all go away. But trust me. Trust this guy. Trust Jesus. Love is the only way. The world teaches us other ways. Our hearts stir with other ways. But love, coming back to love, continuing to insist upon love, is the only way. It's the only power. It's the only thing that we have. And it's enough. I continue to believe that people in relationship with each other have the love power to change the world. Maybe it's naive. Maybe it's silly. But are you going to look at these kids and say it's naive and it's silly to love? What I want you to do is this. Go home and make yourself a sign. A love sign. I'm not a crafts person. I really don't like this stuff. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that you have to make a literal love sign. But make yourself a sign. Put it on your bathroom mirror. Put it on your computer screen. Put it on your phone. Put it in your car. Put it in front of you, wherever you are. Make yourself a love sign and lift it up. Lift up the love sign. Lift it up in front of yourself. Lift it up for others. Lift it up in the face of the world. Love is the power that God has given us. It's the sign that we're called to represent. It is the beginning of the kingdom of God. Love.